Hello everyone, and welcome back to Heretic, where today we'll be playing Chapter 2, Hell's Maw. Immediately, it starts off with a whole bunch of gargoyles and fire gargoyles shooting at us from all directions. And fortunately, because they are different types of gargoyles, they're just going to be fighting each other the moment we circle around them, so we're going to leave that alone. The crossbow over here makes it a little bit easier to deal with this guy, and to press this switch to get to a door that has now opened, which houses a were-dragon, I believe it's called. I frequently forget. But that's a big thing, and it shoots fireballs. And eventually they're all going to be fighting each other as well. They're a little bit tedious with how much damage they do. But other than that, they're not too troublesome. There's about 100 of them in here, so we're just going to ignore all of them and fly away to this singular one over here, who is also close to this key, which will let us go to the third area and almost finish the level already, because this is actually a pretty small level. It's the first one of the second episode. Over here, we can use our flight to go in here and grab the key. We can go over here to this not actually a secret urn, which will allow us to get back all of our health. We can get the dragon claw over here. And if we step somewhere here, we open up a doorway back there. Also, there is some health down here, and it lets you teleport back over here again, so that's good. Now, because we opened that door, we have also opened up a secret area in the place with all of the were-dragons over there. And I'm gonna need to be a little bit careful. I'm gonna try and lure them all out, as eventually I'm just going to be running around them, because there are two secret areas inside that place. The first one of which we opened by opening the door over here, as I said. There's also a shadow sphere over there, ignore it. But there is also a hell staff waiting for us here, which is a new weapon. It shoots very quickly. It is pretty similar in a way to the claw, but it does have an extra feature with the Book of Power, so we're just going to quickly grab one of those. There is one hiding behind this wall with a slightly different color, so that's nice. And if we use this tome... I need to be a little careful here. We can make these raindrops appear wherever we shoot. You can have 2 of these rainstorms active at a time, but every single raindrop deals damage. So if they just stay in there, it more or less just kills everything. It's very powerful. And it's a very good way of dealing with large clumps of enemies. And since everyone in this level is clumped up because we've just been running in circles the whole time, it makes life a little bit easier to deal with, and that's nice. So with that, we have killed most of the things already in this level. I'm just real quickly checking out this place, because occasionally enemies tend to get stuck here, but not this time apparently. And with that, how many do we have left? We have 1 enemy remaining, and that's the enemy that's waiting for us behind this door. There is 1 more were-dragon. And we're just going to shoot a whole bunch. The fireballs can deal a whole bunch of damage, and that's really the main thing you need to be careful of whenever we find these were-dragons again. But for now, we are done with the first level of the second episode, the Crater. And next up, we are going to be playing episode 2, chapter 2, the Lava Pits. Now this level starts off in a very tiny cave, but picking up this ammo opens up the door to various gargoyles and a new enemy called the Saberclaw, who only has melee attacks, so we can ignore it quite easily. Grab the crossbow over here, and we are just going to immediately go all the way down here and fall down the waterfall, where there are 2 more saber claws waiting for us in a very tiny room. But this room is entirely filled to the brim with power-ups that are going to make life a little bit easier on us, but picking up these power-ups makes a whole bunch of stuff spawn. But one of the power-ups is the flight power-up, and we will be using it to get out of this cave, because there's not actually another way to get out of this place. So if you no longer have this flight power up and you're down here, you can at least use the lava pit to kill yourself, and then you'll be back at the start of the level at least. But it's not the most ideal situation to be in. Plus this flight power up can lead to some other shenanigans, but I'll deal with that, kind of, because I probably won't be quick enough to do that. But anyway, over here is a key that we will need later. You can use these platforms to ride up. Sometimes they go down as well, and I'm honestly not 100% sure why. But if you are on top of this place, you can fall off this edge, which will open up this secret door. And I don't think you can actually fall off every edge there, but sometimes the door just doesn't open. But it gives you a new and fancy shadow sphere, which we'll be using later. And it also opens up the door to that wizard over there, but he has been disposed of. Now there have been a lot of enemies throwing axes at us, and I'm just going to ignore them for now. There's going to be an easier time to deal with them. And you can use the flight to get to the top of this little ridge over there. And that can actually be a little bit of an issue, because the button that you see in front of me right now raises the staircase to get on top of that ridge the regular way. And it's kind of odd, but if you go all the way to the top of this staircase, it opens up the door that is consequentially also the place where the button is. So it can feel like you're just suddenly stuck if you manage to fall down after climbing up there with flight. So that's the situation you don't really want to be in. Fortunately, you can get out of it by just pressing the use button in this place, because the game doesn't really care if the button's right in front of you or above you slightly, because the button is still technically there. It's just raised to the top and you can't see it anymore. But it can get easy to get stuck in here. This is the Chaos device, which is a new item. We can use it to teleport to the start of the level. There's no real point to using it for me right now, but if you get stuck in the middle of a whole bunch of enemies, it can be useful to get out of that situation. But using this Dragon Claw, we're just going to kill these remaining enemies. We are out of crossbow bolts after all, and I'd like to keep this book for a little bit later. Really like to keep most of these power-ups for a little bit later. For now, gonna go through this door, just kill everything we can see over here. A couple more crossbow bolts for us to pick up. And a button, which opens up a door all the way to the other side of this level. So we'll be going there in a minute. There's a secret door over here, which has a whole bunch of nasty stuff, but also a weapon that we have seen before. I believe it is called the Hell Staff. And it makes life a little bit easier because you can just spam everything to death with it. And that's just nice. So with this Hell Staff, we will enter this last remaining door out of all the places that we haven't been there yet. There's some armor for us to pick up. And we can finally deal with the enemies that were throwing axes at us earlier. So that takes care of that. It is a couple of them, and it might be tempting to use the Shadow Sphere here, but I actually quite like using it a little bit later, because we're going to be fighting a lot of these enemies in a minute. And it's just a little bit more convenient to have it for that fight. But there's also another secret area over here. Picking up the book opens up another door with a wizard, and picking up this quiver opens up yet another door with a wizard behind it, with a morph ovum inside, which I'm probably not going to be using. Apparently I kept one of the Shadow Claws. Shadow Claws? I forget what they're called. Saber Claws. That's what they're called. Kept one of those alive. Not really sure how, but fair enough. But the button we pressed earlier opened up a door in this place. And first we're just going to deal with the gargoyles, because then after we use this, the gargoyles are pretty much the only enemy that can still hit us. Right now we're more or less invulnerable, because these guys are all just going to be throwing axes that will be going right through us, because we have used the Shadow Sphere and their attacks are physical. Over here is the green key and two more ghost warriors, which will be doing their strong attack. Also the chainsaws over there in case you want it, but I'm going to ignore it for now. The ghost enemies do, of course, throw red axes every single time. That's just how they work. But fortunately, the Shadow Sphere works against those too. So it really just is a lovely place to have a Shadow Sphere available. There's still an enemy here? Yeah, there's a couple actually. Fair enough. Not sure how these enemies keep escaping my grasp, but it is what it is. Now there is a very obvious wall over there that looks completely different from all the other ones, and we will be opening that in a second. But first, we're gonna go over here, kill a couple more gargoyles, and actually open up the level exit using the button that's over there. But it also opens up a couple other things, because this is the exit. We're gonna skip that because we opened up this wall instead. And I'm gonna use this book over here that we picked up, because there's gonna be a couple of these guys waiting for us sitting at the top there. We could use our Ring of Invulnerability if we so desired, but I kind of like this current color scheme, so I'd rather not waste it. And there is a backpack over here in case you like having a significant amount of ammo. And this takes you back to the top of the waterfall, which I suppose is a different way that you can open up this secret door over here, if you haven't already. But you can also use the platform or the flight. There's really just so many ways to get on top of that place. Now that we have done all of that, though, we can go all the way around again, because the very, very obvious wall has just opened up. And it contains an enemy that we have actually seen before, but in a different area. It is the level 1 boss the first boss in the game, and I'm just gonna pour a whole bunch of rain on him. Use every weapon we have at our disposal. And before you know it, he explodes. And we can pick up this 200 armor power-up. And that's just nice. There is also a Mystic Urn over here if you are missing any health. You can see how the Chaos device teleports you back to the start. That's fun. And with that, we will be going to the end of the level. Watch out for any tornadoes that might still be flying around, because you might just get flung all over the place and that's a little bit inconvenient. But with that, we should have all kills and secrets, and thus finishing the lava pits, and therefore going to episode 2 mission 3, the River of Fire. Now the River of Fire starts next to this River of Fire. There's a couple power-ups here which we can't quite pick up yet because they're a little bit too low underneath the wall. And the moment we go down one of these two staircases, it opens up this door with a whole bunch of were-dragons behind it. So we're going to ignore that, not fire our gun at all, and rather we're just going to try and pick up a whole bunch of stuff and try to get enemies to infight with each other so we don't have to deal with any of this. Because there is quite a lot of enemies here. I don't particularly care for any of them. And I'm real quickly just going to go here to grab this Dragon Claw as well. Try to keep our health somewhat reasonable. And just make everyone mad. That's more or less the strategy. Kinda hoping I can get this Hourglass without taking too much damage. Pretty much failed in that regard, but that's okay. And gonna grab this Ring of Invincibility as we sort of sneak around the weird dragons real quick, waking them all up. That's okay. Press the button, quickly grab the things here, use the Ring of Invincibility, and just throw down all of the hourglasses we just picked up to do as much damage to all these weird dragons as possible, because there's a lot of stuff here. I don't particularly care for them. There is a chainsaw behind me which I'm gonna grab just now. Didn't quite grab it, unfortunately, and that made some unfortunate weapon switching happen. But as long as we can get rid of all of the weird dragons, we should be okay. These guys don't really do that much damage, provided that I can be firing at them, because the knockback causes their melee attacks to effectively never hit, and that is lovely. Now, pushing the button in the back of that room opens up two doorways. The first one is on... I will get to that in a second after killing all the enemies here. The first one is on the left side over here, or right side, depending on where you're looking. It contains one Disciple of Despair trying to kill us. And we're just gonna take it nice and slow, grab the Tome of Power, and then go to the doorway that opened on the other side. Which is actually where we have to go, because this area contains a key. Once again, another Disciple of Despair waiting for us here, so we need to be at least a little bit careful, but... grabbing the key by just walking into this forcefully. It's sometimes surprisingly difficult to grab that key for some reason, but it is what it is. But with that key, we can go all the way around the River of Fire once more, and more or less try and kill whatever is still alive, quickly grabbing that armor power up, which is good because my health is not great right now, but we can probably fix that. And over here's a bunch of gargoyles, because we effectively made everyone fight with each other, and then, well, we left, so they didn't really have a reason to be angry anymore. But a lot of them are quite low health due to the infighting that they have been doing. Except for that guy, apparently. So most of them die in one hit from the crossbow, provided that the hit actually hits them. So it's not too big of a deal to clear up the entire River of Fire this way. There is still a couple of hourglasses left. There's some cannonballs over there, which I'll talk about in a minute. And with that, let's go to the next room. Over here, the door we opened required the yellow key that we picked up earlier. There's only a couple gargoyles, but the moment we walk in here, there is a green key. And picking up the green key opens up yet a whole bunch more doors with a whole bunch more were-dragons behind it. So that is lovely. Dealing with these can be a little bit tedious, but at least this time around the area that we're fighting in is quite large, so we can just keep our distance. And provided we don't take too many projectiles to the face, we should be okay. My ammo's a little bit low, actually, which is not ideal, but... I mean, provided that I don't miss too much, we should be okay. It's just... a little bit weird how I have so little ammo, but fair enough. Maybe I've just been shooting a little bit erratically this time around, but that's the way it is sometimes. Now, there is a weapon here. It doesn't have to be here, which is fun. This weapon is called the Fire Mace, and I'll grab it in just a sec. Just quickly grabbing the power-ups here. This is ice, by the way, which is why I'm moving a little bit strangely. And also the floor here damages you, so that's fun. But yeah, this is the Fire Mace. It can spawn here. It shoots balls, sometimes big ones and sometimes tiny ones. When the balls hit water, I believe they disappear entirely, so you gotta be at least a little careful. If they hit the floor, they bounce off of it. It has, from what I understand, a 75% chance to actually spawn in the level. And then with that 75%, there is 1 in 3 places where it can spawn, of which this is the first one. Now this is the most convenient place in the level to get the item, and if you're making videos, you can just keep restarting the level over and over to have it spawn in a convenient place. But it can just as easily spawn in a place where it's just a little bit more difficult to acquire. So keep that in mind. A different place where it can also spawn is right there next to the urn, I believe. So if you really, really want it, you can just restart the level over and over until you see a weird stick line over there. But it will take you a little bit longer to grab it when it spawns there. And with a little bit is we should be able to grab it in like a second, literally. But I grabbed a green key. Never mind, it's not a second. I still got a whole area to do. Because first of all, we gotta open this door. And as long as we don't fire any shots, we can probably cause some infighting to happen here between the various saber claws and the Disciple of the Sparrow. And I do like having these fight each other because it just saves a whole bunch of ammo in the long run. These guys usually don't do that much, but they are quite good at dealing damage to a single Disciple of the Sparrow, so that can be quite useful. Occasionally they lose the fight, and I honestly don't fully understand how, but you know, it's one of those things. Sometimes the enemies just having a hard time with stuff. Now there is a couple more disciples behind there. I was kind of hoping to get these guys to infight with them as well, but it didn't seem like they were fully up to that task, so I'm just gonna help them out a little bit. I probably shot them a bit too much there. Because if you shoot enemies too much, they're pretty much just not going to be infighting with the enemies anymore, so you got to keep that in mind at least a little bit. Can I get you to fight that guy? That would just be lovely. There we go. Now, as long as I just stand around the corner, the Saber Claw actually has a chance, because it does attack quite quickly. And this does cause sometimes a bit of a stun lock effect, where he won't actually do any attacks. And that can be quite convenient, obviously, because then he actually has a chance of winning. There are 2 more down there, which I will be dealing with right now. They are guarding the level exit, and it's just a nice little convenience to have them taken care of. It's kind of hard to see them, but they exist. So, real quickly, just taking care of them one by one. I believe that's both of them dead. And I wonder if I can actually grab this ammo power-up that has been spawned at the top here. Probably not. Might just be a little bit too far away. Moving onwards, there is a button here. Gonna press it. That's really the main reason why we went here, because we currently cannot access the blue key. And over here, one more Disciple of the Sparrow, a couple more Saber Claws. Just gonna cause as much infighting here as possible, I hope. But I think it's mostly gonna be a one-on-one with that fight over there. Also, because we pressed that button earlier, we can now actually reach the blue key, even though I just said it was inaccessible. It was previously inaccessible. That's what I was trying to go for. Now, moving on. The blue key is over there. You can actually see it a little bit earlier if you go over here. And we can now press this button, which allows us to go once again down the River of Fire. And this would be the second chance to get the Fire Mace if it happens to spawn in this level in one of these 2 locations. Can't quite remember. I think it was on the other side. But it also spawns the Phoenix Rod. And the Phoenix Rod is lovely. I'm just going to real quickly do that. The Phoenix Rod is the rocket launcher of the game, and when you use a Tome of Power, it becomes a flamethrower that's kind of low range, and I don't love it. So we're probably not going to be using it too much unless I change my mind on that almost immediately the next time we get it. Very possible. Missed both rockets. Very good. Also, we have a flight power, so I'm just actually going to be using that so I don't have to deal with the lava for a moment. But the flamethrower, like, it's not bad, but the range is just so low on it that it can be quite difficult with enemies like these. So it's not ideal for a lot of cases. I'm actually also just going to use my Tome of Power here real quick to deal with the remaining enemies at this level. Because there is still quite a lot of things remaining. There is a Chaos device right there, which is lovely, in case we do feel like going back to the start of the level. Now, arguably, it would be better to actually go through the other blue door, because I am currently skipping a Hell Staff, I believe, so that's a little bit of an inconvenience, but I don't know. I like this path personally, if only due to the fact that you get a whole bunch of ammo and stuff here. And honestly, the powered up crossbow does a good enough job at destroying just about everything available here. And even if you don't have a Tome of Power remaining, I believe there's another one waiting for us on the other side of this door, so I'm just going to keep on using them until I'm at the end. Oh, I guess it doesn't always spawn here. Maybe the enemies sometimes drop them, and that's why there's occasionally one there. But just moving on. I should at some point probably at least use this thing. It shoots, as you can see, the balls move quite slow. They move along with you, so you gotta be at least a little bit careful with the powered up version. And I am having the time of my life trying to get these things to hit. Even though they deal 10,000 damage, it can be quite tricky to actually hit with them. But if they do hit, generally works. Generally quite good, but you do have to keep in mind your own movement while trying to use it. Also, apparently, if you play this game in deathmatch, you can also use this against enemy players, which is obviously useful. But if they have a Chaos device in their inventory, they will immediately teleport away automatically rather than dying. And yeah, there was the Hell Staff I was talking about a little bit earlier. There's no secrets on this level. We did get all of the kills. Just gonna grab these things for good measure, and we're just gonna call it a day. That was the end of the River of Fire. Probably the most difficult level so far, but it's a fun one. There's a lot of action going on, and apparently I missed 2 items, but that's okay. So with that, we will move on to Episode 2, Mission 4, the Ice Grotto. Now this level starts off pretty treacherously. All the blue stuff is ice, so you're going to be sliding all over the place and moving pretty slow for the most part, which can be a little bit tedious. If you start firing, then you're going to wake up all the Disciples of Despair that are on these walls. There's a bunch of were-dragons all over the place, and there's a little plateau with a crossbow over here. And going onto this plateau opens up this doorway containing a Tome of Power, which I will just be using immediately because there is so many were-dragons, and it is very easy to die at the start of this level. So we're just going to take it a little bit slow. We're going to try to kill as many were-dragons as possible while our Tome of Power is still active, or at least damaging them to the best of our abilities. But we do have to be careful. Dodging fireballs can be quite a bit more difficult when you're moving like this, because it does feel quite slow, but as long as you're just continuously moving away from the fireballs, it doesn't really matter how slow you're going, because they are just aiming directly at you at all times. So as long as you keep that in mind, it's not so bad. There's a couple of were-dragons infighting with the wizards up top. There's a couple of were-dragons just hanging out, having a good time. But for the most part, we need to particularly go in this direction here, because there is a yellow key for that yellow key door, which you can see over in the distance over there. But this guy is just in an awkward position because it is just a very small grotto over here where it can be quite easy to get overwhelmed by the various stuff that's going on. These two seems to be fighting each other for a while, so that's good. I'm gonna kill this guy real quick, because that particular enemy can be a little bit of a problem if you don't deal with him right now, because we will be jumping down into that area in a second. Oh, that guy died in front of me. And when we jump down there, we don't want to have a were-dragon right in our face, so we're just gonna clean up the area as much as we can. Grab a couple more health power-ups here in the area. And before you know it, most of the danger is gone. There is, of course, the gauntlets of the Necromancer waiting for us over here, but I don't love it in this. I mean, there's a couple places where it does become more useful. But over here, it can be a little scary to use. I suppose against these enemies it would work just fine, but... The crossbow is just so good. The crossbow is such a versatile weapon against a lot of enemy types. Going over here, grabbing the Phoenix Rod opens up a teleporter and 2 more doorways revealing enemies. These are rockets, so that's good to know. The flame orbs and infernal orbs that are laying around give you a decent amount of ammo for the Phoenix Rod. And even though I just said the gauntlets are a bit scary to use, I will use them here. You can technically telefrag this disciple, but more often than not, you're just going to be standing next to him, and that's not great. Tome of Power over here. Now going over here actually opens up a second teleporter in the room we were just in, and I will just use a couple of rockets against myself, just to make it a little bit more difficult on me, and not at all by accident, because I was trying to shoot a disciple there. It is a little bit tedious to use that weapon on the Disciples of Despair because it goes through them when they are invisible, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Also, Infernal Orb in front of this this window rather, which gives you 15 more rockets for your rocket launch, so that's obviously pretty great. But in a second, I will be going to where that Disciple of Despair is, who was almost dead because they were infighting with the Were-Dragon just now. I believe it's this teleporter I want, because that one brings us to a green key, some more ammo, and another Infernal Orb in front of this window as well. And now we have 32 rockets, so this makes the Phoenix Rod significantly more interesting to use, because up until now we just didn't really have much ammo for it, but now we can use it on just about whatever we want, and that makes it a little bit more versatile. Just gonna kill the remaining enemies here, which I'm hoping is just that one. We will be coming back here in a minute, but save that for later. Because for now, gonna go through here, shoot 2 rockets in there, which is generally enough. It is worth noting that even though the rockets go through the invisible disciples, if the splash damage is near enough to them, they will still take damage from that, so that's pretty good. Plus you can also time it to have the rocket land when they do their shot, because then they're going to be visible for a brief moment anyway. So you can time it somewhat at least, so that's nice. And I think I might just use my Tome of Power here in a second, because we did get another one on top of that area just now. And it can be a good way to get some of your health back against these enemies, using the gauntlets. So really what I said earlier about them not being that great is a lie. There's a bunch of closed doors over here. There's really only one building we can enter right now, and I believe that is this one, so I will be going into that one in a second. Just trying to get the most out of my Tome of Power here while we're killing various gargoyles. There is other weapons on this map, but really they're effectively just not that interesting, because you get them so late in the level that you might as well just use the crossbow the entire time. Because I believe for like a Dragon Claw, you need to enter this building, and by the time you can actually enter that building, there's most of all the things are dead already, so there's really not much of a point to try and go for it. Plus the crossbow is just very good at its job, and whatever the crossbow can't do, the Phoenix Rod is more than capable of dealing with, so as long as you can actually make it past the start of the level, you should probably be okay. But yeah, the auto-aim on the Disciples is also a little bit treacherous at times, just because it doesn't work when they are in their ghost form. And you have to kind of keep that in mind, otherwise you're just going to be shooting rockets right in front of you, and that can obviously be quite dangerous if you're standing too close to a ledge or something like that. Grabbing this last Tome of Power here, trying not to get hit by the 100th Were-Dragon that we've seen in this level so far. And I think it's about time we enter a building here. Over here is the main entrance. We're just going to be taking that. Bunch of gargoyles all over the place. Also, the enemy count in each level seems to just be increasing in this episode, so every new level you gotta be a different kind of careful every time, so that's good to keep in mind. This Were-Dragon was apparently already aggroed, but ordinarily he stands next to that map scroll, which we briefly saw for a second there. The one that is hiding over here. And now we're just gonna go door to door, kill everything that moves, and press this button. This button opens up all the closed doors that were outside, so if you do want to get that dragon claw, I suppose you could do it right now, but again, I prefer to use the crossbow in this place. Chaos device over here, which can be useful. It kind of has its uses because we do need to go back to the start of the level later, but you don't need it. There is another way to get back to the start in a minute, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Moving on, another were dragon, just chilling. No concern. Should probably be using the Phoenix Rod more often than I am, but you know. I like my crossbow, especially with a backpack. You just get so much ammo for it in this level and there's really no reason not to use it. But at the same time, it is a very effective way to deal with were-dragons to just shoot a couple rockets at them. So obviously it can be nice to do just that. But against stuff like gargoyles, for one, it's kind of a waste, and for two, you can very easily hit yourself in the face with an explosion if you're shooting at someone that's flying directly towards you. It's more or less the Lost Souls effect that was in Doom. Also over here is another backpack in between these two doorways, in case you didn't already have one. But it's good to be careful. I suppose one thing I could do is show off the flamethrower here in a minute, but I don't really have many enemies to use it on. But it has been something that I haven't actually done yet now that I think about it, so I should probably at least use the Tome of Power at some point. Because even though I did previously say that I don't love it, it doesn't use a lot of ammo, and this door is still closed actually. I do need to go in here, grab the blue key. I think it might actually be the thing that opens this. Yeah, it does. But it only uses up one little blip of ammo for every 10 seconds you're using the flamethrower. And obviously that's quite good, but then you have situations like that where, unless you're using the aim up and down buttons or mouse look, then you're just not gonna hit gargoyles. So it has ups and downs. But if you are in a room with a lot of saber claws, it definitely is very effective at destroying all the enemies in a place from time to time. So definitely does have its uses. I'm gonna kill this last disciple over here. I did previously say that there is a dragon claw over here. And with this, we have also opened up this portal. This leads back to the start of, well, it leads back to the top of the wall, which can be good, but we still have a little bit more to go. So we're just gonna go down here. Killing the remaining saber claws. There is one kind of scary enemy remaining, and once again, it is one of the bosses that we saw in the episode 1. But now, with the Phoenix Rod, it is significantly less scary. And probably the reason why the Phoenix Rod is not in the first episode to begin with, because it would more or less nullify the entire boss battle. There's a big red eye in the middle of this room with a hell staff waiting for us, which is nice. And over here is the level exit with a single wizard guarding it. Now we have killed 110 out of 111 enemies, and we're missing one secret. So I'm just going to use my chaos device, go back to the start of the level, and go through a door that has opened by going into that area. It's somewhere after the blue key door where this door opens. Because this is the last remaining enemy, a secret area, an urn, and another exit which leads to a secret level. And that's the end of the Ice Grotto. Really, mostly a difficult start, but the moment you get past the start, it's not that bad. It's just that you can get very easily overwhelmed by the first area of that level, but if you manage to do that, it's all fine. But with that, we are going to episode 2, mission 9, I believe, the Glacier. Now the secret level starts off with a whole bunch of explosive pushable balls. I will shoot once just to wake up a pretty large amount of enemies that are waiting for us here that all cannot quite reach us because of these balls protecting us. But if we just get enough projectiles flying in our direction, first of all it will actually blow up these things, but also it will cause a lot of infighting between the enemies that are actually here. And it does make life considerably easier given that the first weapon that I can really get is downstairs beyond all of these enemies here. And preferably I'd like to just kind of push my way through while they're all busy with themselves. Also, walking down these stairs opens up a door behind us. Can't quite see it from here, but it contains some secret stuff, which I will be grabbing in a second. And now that we have the crossbow, might as well start shooting. Might as well see if we can get our way out of here. Destroy as much of the explosive barrels as possible to save ammo as much as we can. Enemies are still infighting with each other, so that's good. But we can occasionally help them out a little bit by just destroying the explosives around them. And that way we won't actually use up all of our ammo by doing this singular fight, which is nice. Now after having done all of that, we could jump down there and continue with the level, but I will go back a little bit to go through the door that we have just opened, plus grab a little bit more armor and ammo and such, because it does get a little bit tricky this level, so it's good to be prepared. There's a shadow sphere here. Not sure if I'm going to use it, but it's there. And this area opened, containing a mage and a whole bunch of ammo and a backpack, which puts our crossbow ammo at 55, which is a nice amount to have for the rest of this level, really. So moving on, we will jump down into the noises that I've been playing for a while. The fire mace can be available here. Once again, it is a 75% chance, roughly, for this thing to spawn. For as far as I understand, truly I don't. I just read about it and take their word for it. But the fire mace is waiting for us right here, and is pretty ineffective against flying enemies, so I'm just not even going to bother, and I'm just going to stick with my crossbow instead. Because honestly, it gets the job done, and everything here is dead, which is good. But yeah, anything that requires me to shoot up or down, this weapon is not really going to do it. There is some mages behind this window, disciples if you will. And because this weapon shoots so quickly, you're more than likely to actually hit these enemies, even when they are in their ghostly forms, and their balls will more or less just go through them. I'm just going to use it here just for fun, otherwise I'm never going to end up using the fire mace. It's kind of an awkward weapon to use, so I tend to stray away from it. But it exists, it's nice. And apparently we've caused some infighting with the local saber claws here, so that is lovely. Now, even though it seemed quite obvious how to open up those windows over there, it does count as a secret area. There is a not a fire mace, a dragon claw in here as well, which makes taking care of these remaining disciples a little bit easier, provided that I don't almost die to them. You know, little things. But after all that, we can go up these stairs. There is an Inferno Orb and some Hell Staff ammo next to those stained glass windows over there, but I'm going to ignore them for now because there's stuff behind it that I do not wish to deal with just yet. But also potentially a fire mace, but not this time because it already spawned somewhere else, fortunately. So we don't have to bother. But for now, I'm going to go over here, grab the chainsaw, grab this key, and teleport back to the start of the level where we can now go through this yellow key door. And I will use this Tome of Power that we have acquired because there is a whole bunch of stuff in this place. Once again, a whole bunch of weird dragons in a kind of uncomfortably close area. A whole bunch of disciples of the Sparrow in the back as well. And if we can just sort of clean up here, that would just be really nice because this place can be quite tedious to deal with otherwise, just due to the sheer amount of stuff that's shooting you all the time. We will be going to that area where the mages are eventually, not quite yet, but eventually, more or less at the end of the level. But until then, I do like to have this place fully cleared out, just for my own safety. And it's good to just get as much damage in with that book as possible, because, man, there's just so much stuff here. But fortunately, not a problem at all. This might actually be a better place to use the fire mace, given that everything is quite close quarters. And therefore it should be a lot easier to hit the enemies, but I don't know. I feel kind of weird using the fire mace just because it doesn't always show up. If it does show up though, it can also show up in this little corner over here. Because this level has 4 different places where this thing can spawn. And I guess I only mentioned 3 so far, but there is a 4th one right next to the exit of the level. Which, for this playthrough, would be completely pointless, I suppose, but it does exist. I'm just gonna push these 2 into this wall over here, grab the key, and then just blow them up next to those two disciples to hopefully deal at least a little bit of splash damage to them. Honestly, not sure. The one of them died pretty quickly, and the other one didn't really seem to mind that much, but whatever. We got the green key, we can move on. There are still two more were-dragons over here, which I'm just going to take down slowly and safely. This is a nice looking wall. It's almost unusual. Like, I looked this up in Doom Builder, like the map editor, to see what this was, and it's really just a nice looking pillar. I couldn't find anything that was really connected to it. So fair enough. Also a chaos device, I guess, which, I mean, it has its uses. With the green key, we can go into the green area, obviously. Kill some gargoyles. Keep shooting in their general direction. I do not have a Tome of Power anymore, unfortunately. So we're just going to be shooting here for a while. There's a whole heck of a load of gargoyles waiting for us there. And a whole bunch of disciples shooting their purple orbs at us from afar. Probably shouldn't be shooting at the enemies here too much, just because there is some chance of infighting there, but I don't know. I honestly don't know what a great strategy for this place is other than just shooting them a lot. And that does work quite well. Gonna go downstairs here first because this is a little side area where there is quite a large amount of fire golems waiting for us. Also a couple of skelemans, and slowly but surely we'll just get everything done. There is also an iron lich waiting for us there behind the door, which is a little bit annoying, but if you just sort of stand around the edge like this, he's gonna try to keep shooting projectiles at me, and I will continue not to care because I am using a hit scan weapon, and therefore he dies, and I don't have to bother with his stupid tornadoes the entire time. I am holding a grudge against that enemy. Also, there is a secret ring of invincibility there while we wait for this tornado to disappear slowly but surely. Because it does still affect you in the worst possible ways. Also 200 armor waiting for us around the corner there. And moving along, one more fire golem, a torch, 3 more fire golems, and just about reaching the end of this little side path over here where there is one more ghost. I guess we could use the shadow sphere here just because I don't really know a better place to use it, but I mean, there's one enemy. It's not really that worthwhile, but moving close to that wall opens up yet another secret containing the Hell Staff, which is also a nice thing to have for a place like this. But with all that stuff done, we can move back again to the place where all the purple balls were shooting towards us, because there is a key in this place which we need to acquire. It is the blue one waiting for us over there. I will shoot these disciples real quick just from the side here, because we will also be going into that area eventually. And it is nice to just have all the enemies taken care of before we go there, because otherwise you can be a little bit overwhelmed with all the stuff that's over there. But grabbing the blue key, I'm just gonna real quickly jump over the lava here to get that infernal orb for our Phoenix Rod. There is a couple more ammo power-ups here, but we really don't need them. And opening this secret door leads us to, after turning around, the Phoenix Rod. And you can also go back through the teleporter to go into this little alcove over here, which I believe in multiplayer has a Tome of Power. So that's nice if we were playing in multiplayer. Unfortunately, we are not. But in single player, the Phoenix Rod is still very effective against these 3 people with axes here whom I've completely forgotten the name of, and I'm just gonna let that slide for now. But with this particular weapon, I do feel a little bit more comfortable. For one, going into this area that has just opened up because we went to the secret area, but also climbing up there. This is not the Phoenix Rod. There we go. Because after we go all the way up here, and I'm just gonna get my Ring of Invincibility ready, because again, I don't like this one very much. Gonna jump down here, it opens. Immediately there's an Iron Lich, and really the main reason why I used the Ring of Invincibility was hoping that I could run forward into the room, and therefore triggering the secret area that is in that place, and then no longer having to continue. But of course, the Iron Lich decided to do the one attack. Also, there can be a Fire Mace here. He decided to do the only attack that could really stop me in my tracks there, so unfortunately a little bit of a waste of the Ring of Invincibility there, because it would have been a nice thing to have here. Now if you press that button earlier and then fight that Iron Lich, you're gonna wake up all the enemies down here, so I'd like to do it in a different order. Because as you can see, there is some were-dragons here, and the torch is quite handy here because it gets quite dark and you can't really see what's going on. But you wake up all these were-dragons, and if you then jump down the hole, there's a chance that one is just right behind you from the start, and that can just destroy you. So that's a little dangerous. Also gonna grab my egg, use it in this room, because this place is a little bit tedious and scary, and I don't like to deal with it. But we get a flight power-up, and that brings us back to the start of the level. We have our blue key now, as we picked it up a little bit earlier, and we can use it to go through this blue door, which we started the level at, actually. Killing these disciples that are all here, having a good time. Apparently this is the disciple room. I have a lot of items at my disposal, and I honestly don't really know a very good place to use any of them. Like the flight power-up would have been nice, I guess, to get the secret area a little bit differently, but what are you gonna do? One more mage over here, and after going through the door, it opens up another place with 3 more wizards, which I'm just going to shoot rockets at, and hoping for the best. The splash damage should take care of them. Going through the right teleporter first to go into this area, which we saw from the other side earlier while we were fighting there. And then we will go through the left teleporter, where there is still a fair amount of enemies remaining, but it's all gargoyles from the look of things, so that's nice. And that is all kills. We are still missing 1 secret, and we are no longer missing 1 secret. Pressing the button, and just about finishing this level. The secret level of episode 2. I think it's a pretty neat one, but it can once again be quite scary. Also, the fire mace can be right here, which would be very useful. But not for this playthrough, unfortunately, so therefore it spawned precisely in the place where it is convenient for me. But with that, we will go back to the non-secret levels, and the first one of those is Mission 5, the Catacombs. This level's not too complicated. First, gonna shoot our weapon once to wake up a whole bunch of gargoyles and were-dragons and other such things hiding around in this place. It cause a little bit of infighting, but mostly just gonna be running around collecting ammo for non-weapons. I mean, the Dragon Claw is pretty close to us right now. It's just hiding behind some stairs, and I'll grab it in a second after getting this key. And with that, I'm just gonna shoot some gargoyles. No real reason to try and collect any other weapon right now. We kind of need our Dragon Claw ammo as much as we can get it, so gonna be using the Elven Wand for a little bit. But over here, there's a button and a Dragon Claw next to it. Very easily missable. Doesn't count as a secret area, but it's quite useful for our particular voyages. So I'm just going to grab that. Kill that particular Dragon Claw over there. And with Dragon Claw, I mean were-dragon. They both have dragon in the name, so it does get confusing from time to time. And there's a couple more behind that gate over there, and I would actually like those 2 to be dead as well. There's still 1 alive, kind of difficult to see, but it's nice to have these be dead. I think I got both of them. And going up here, there's a couple of saber claws. There is at least 1 disciple of the Sparrow, and I'm kind of hoping I can get these guys to infight at least a little bit. I think the gargoyles are working at it right now, so I'm just gonna start shooting. But yeah, Dragon Claw ammo, not too high, but it's manageable. But if we can get a little bit of infighting going on, then we have significantly less to worry about regarding our ammo situation. And I'd like it to be that way. The Dragon Claw does really start shining in a second as well, so I'd like to be able to shoot it from time to time. Pressing this button lowers the waterfall to this area where we just killed 2 were-dragons behind this gate over here, so it's nice to get those taken care of. And also the 3rd were-dragon, which is guarding these gloves of the necromancer, or gauntlets if you so desire. Just real quickly gonna grab the health, and with that we are going to move on. with the yellow key that we grabbed from there earlier, we can go down here and open the yellow key door. Otherwise, we can go around here to teleport back to the top of that area we just came from. So if you get stuck there, you can use that teleporter. Through this door, there's one gargoyle, one were-dragon, and then to my left is one more gargoyle. And to my right is about 100 were-dragons, so I'm going to just press the button and ignore them for now because I do not wish to deal with them. And instead we are going to go down here through the door we just opened. I'm gonna grab my Tome of Power and I'm going to use it combined with the Dragon Claw to just deal a whole bunch of damage. This is probably not necessary in terms of ammo consumption. Also grab the armor power up over there to open up that door, but it is a very convenient way to deal with stuff over here, so that is nice. Going down here, pressing a button just before we fall down to make the teleporters go down, and using the Tome of Power effect that is still active. We can kill a couple more enemies here and grab yet another Tome of Power. There is a bunch of fire mace ammo in this level, but there's not actually a fire mace, so we're not going to be using it unfortunately, but it is what it is. But dealing with these two Disciples of Despair is a nice way to not have to deal with them in the future. You get a bit of a better angle on them from up here, and that is nice. Also, there was a green key. And also there is a crossbow over here, which we are going to be using to fight the Iron Lich, which we just kind of skipped over because I wanted to press a button and go through a teleporter instead. Not sure where he went, but he's somewhere in this room. There he is, hiding behind the little corner there. And there is a different way to get to that green key, which I will be showing off in just a second, because we're just looping in that area to kill a couple more enemies this way. But keeping the tornado at bay, because it does get a little bit disorienting and it does deal damage, so you gotta be at least a little bit careful. Grabbing as much ammo as possible while trying to ignore the tornado that was still there. You can either go through the door over... I guess this hasn't opened yet. There you go. That opens occasionally, sometimes. You can also go through this door, which does continue you on to the path of that area. I guess you can only open it from this side, huh? It doesn't even really look like a door from this side, so that's interesting at least. But we're gonna just be shooting here for a little bit longer. Kill a couple more saber claws, open this door to show you what I'm talking about. And moving onwards to kill this remaining saber claw and a few more gargoyles. Now, the green key, if you didn't reach the secret area, you can also reach it by taking this elevator upwards and you will reach that same area. It's also the place where you can get the crossbow. So there is a different way of getting there as well, in case you missed the button. There is a bit of a current near that button, so it can be quite easy to miss. Next to that is this button. And this button lowers, or raises, I guess, the staircase to the blue key, which we have briefly seen. It's up there next to a dead were-dragon, which we killed earlier. There is also the stained glass picture of Despair, which is going to be waiting for us somewhere in the future, hopefully. But we're just going to be moving on with our green key through the door, killing a couple of gargoyles. And there is a couple were-dragons up there. I'm going to ignore them entirely, open up this door, which then opens up all the other doors and releases a whole bunch more enemies. And I'm going to get these guys to infight a little bit with each other just for funsies. These saber claws can't really do anything against a were-dragon, unfortunately, so I will be helping them out a little bit, but they do cause a little bit of a distraction, so there is that to consider at least. But once again, try to avoid the hellfire getting shot at you. And just destroy everyone around you, having a good time. Doing it the easy way. With the good old-fashioned crossbow. I'm actually just going to use a couple health items here because I have a whole bunch of them anyway. Now the blue key is in that direction. I will be going there in just a second, but first I'm going to grab this egg. For no other reason than because I can, really. Just a couple items here. Probably not going to be using the egg at all. But opening this left portal opens up a doorway to the Phoenix Rod. This takes you back to the waterfall that you can lower, but I will just be ignoring that for now because there is another area which I'd like to go to first and takes us roughly to the same place. And that is this place right here. There is the blue key. There is still a bunch of were-dragons there. I'm going to ignore them once again. jump to the secret area, which has the flight power up, and just fly away from this place. Not touching the lava, because the lava still deals a whole bunch of damage, but instead, I'm going to grab this ring of invincibility, which we're not going to be using. Kill a couple of were-dragons over here. And I guess I might as well switch to the Phoenix Rod for these remaining enemies. Grab ourselves a secret hell staff and leave through this teleporter, which takes you back to the start of the level, which is roughly where the lowering teleporter is anywhere. Or the lowering waterfall is anyway, so that's convenient. Because now we can just shoot all of the were-dragons we've been ignoring this whole level, and it really is quite a lot of them, but with the Phoenix Rod it is quite easy to destroy all of them, fortunately. Only a couple enemies remain here, and we're just going to be blasting through all of it. One more secret area with a chaos device which we could use to go to the start of the level one more time if we so desire. I'm instead going to fly up here, press the button to lower the waterfall once more, go through the teleporter, and with our blue key we can go onwards to the end of the level, where there's only a couple of saber claws remaining, and for good measure I'm just going to use the hell staff on this enemy, just so I've used all the weapons at least once, and that's fun. That's all the kills and secrets for this level. And yeah, it's kind of a self-explanatory place. You just want to kind of go forward the only way you can the entire time, and it's just a nice little romp. Next up is mission 6, I'm pretty sure it's 6, the Labyrinth. Now this level starts off in a nice little house. We got windows, we got doors, they all open at the same time. There's 3 were-dragons outside, and a bunch of gargoyles trying to kill me. But they can fight each other. I'm just gonna leave this place. This is not a good place to be. We could probably kill them with the explosive balls there, but I'd rather not. Also, when we go onto the ice there, it opens up a little doorway to those gloves, which is a nice thing to have, but I'm gonna just wander around through this labyrinth for a while. Grab as much stuff as possible, occasionally kill an enemy, grab this yellow key, which we'll be needing for a door pretty quickly, and just try to ignore all the chaos that's going on outside. Because there's a lot of it, and I don't like any of it. I don't want to be near it, but there is a lot of ammo in this labyrinth, so we will just be wandering through here for a while. You can cause some infighting here if you move around a little bit, because there is a bunch of different enemy types just roaming around this place, but I don't know. Just using the crossbow works well enough. I'm actually trying to get to a specific point in the labyrinth, but as one might understand, I seem to have gotten lost entirely. And I'm trying to get to that little purple flask over there, because the fire wand can be over there. Once again, not always, but it can be there. And with all of this, I'm just gonna get out of the labyrinth here. I will open up this doorway to our first secret area, which has an egg and an armor power-up. And the egg is actually quite useful for this place, due to the fact that the were-dragons can be killed with it quite easily. I'm hoping they're not spread all over the place, but we're gonna see. They don't seem to be here anymore, so I'm honestly not too sure where they currently are. But hopefully they'll find their way to me. There we go, we already got a couple over there. We got at least one of them slowly crawling towards us, and with... there's both of them, that's good. So if we just use this properly, we can hit both of them. And then they only take one shot at the crossbow. You could probably even use the elven wand to kill them at that point, because they do become quite weak when they become a chicken, on account that they are chickens. And chickens are not as strong as a dragon, as it turns out. With that, I will be moving on to the yellow key door. There still seems to be some enemies here in this labyrinth. They do have a tendency to get stuck inside the walls a bit here. I don't know if you can really call them walls because, well, quite clearly it's all open, but it functions as walls for me, and that's really the main thing. I have one crossbow bolt remaining and a dream, and with that I think I'm just gonna move on. Should probably be okay, but it's not the best ammo situation to be in. But the moment we open this door, we can get a little backpack. It gives us 8 crossbow bolts instead of the one we previously had. There's some infighting going on here between 2 gargoyles, and there is several disciples and a were-dragon outside. And it is just very nice to get them to infight with each other, because I don't have a great amount of weaponry right now to deal with any of these, but especially the were-dragon, the amount of health they have, it's It's just nice to have them worn down at least a little bit. There we go. There we go. With our last shot, we're able to get it. Now, there is a flight power up here, and I will just be using it to grab that dragon claw over there, because it's just a nice little convenience. You can get there through other means, but this works. This is a functional way. Plus, this is a nice place to have flight anyway. Over here, there is a shadow sphere, and also potentially the fire mace sitting somewhere in this cave, I do believe. I'm just gonna grab the shadow sphere and leave with it. I have no real use for it, but it is what it is. Gonna circle around this whole area because there is some ammo here to be grabbed. And after we have gotten all of that and killed all the stray gargoyles, we're gonna jump down here to all the various enemies hanging around this place. And we're gonna use our flight to just grab a couple health power-ups. And potentially a fire mace. I believe that's, yeah, fire mace, that's right. It's next to one of these two potions, and I'm quite honest, I don't remember which ones, but they're somewhere in there. And now I'm gonna try to lure them a bit towards the explosive balls to deal as much damage to them as possible. It seems that everyone's infighting with everyone right now, so that is also pretty convenient. I was kind of hoping to destroy some of them here. Yeah, they're just going at it, fair enough. I mean, do what you gotta do. We still got a couple of hourglasses left, and I might as well just use one over here, because it's just gonna deal a lot of damage, and we never really use the hourglasses, and honestly, against melee enemies like this, it is just a nice little convenience. Mostly due to the fact that they can't get close to us anyway, with the ice physics combined with their attention to get pushed backwards whenever we shoot them. It's just a very nice little fight that more or less fights itself, and it's very nice, very convenient, very good. With all of this extra stuff, we're gonna go inside this tree? Mushroom? Yeah. This guy's gonna teleport through there, we're gonna follow him. This is where the dragon claw is, if you hadn't picked it up with the flight power-up. And with our newfangled green key that we picked up inside that tree, we're gonna just quickly go to the green key door. Where over here, there's one gargoyle, another door opening behind us the moment we walk through the green door, and a bunch of were-dragons, which I'm just gonna take out from a distance. I have no real reason to get close to them. We will be using the Tome of Power in a second, because there is a couple more enemies. We could probably just be using it against these were-dragons as well. And there is a second Tome of Power there, which makes it even more tempting, but I don't know. I like my strats, so I'm just gonna stick with it. These enemies have somehow managed to start infighting themselves, even though I'm not even sure I've ever had the light of sight on them, so that's convenient. And with this Dragon Claw and Tome of Power, I'm gonna open the door, shoot everyone here that exists, and then start shooting inside here, because there is just a bunch of were-dragons inside there. I'm dealing with the Tome of Power version of the Dragon Claw against these enemies. It's a very effective way of solving all your problems, and that's just lovely. There is still a were-dragon alive, it would seem, and I do want everything to be dead before I enter that room, because there is actually stuff in there. And if we enter that room with a were-dragon still alive, we are very much stuck in there, and that's not great. So hopefully he's dead. Yeah, he's gone. You could vaguely hear a door open in the background there the moment I entered this place, and I think there's a couple doors that have opened, in fact. There is still you that's alive. But we're going to be walking around the corner over here, because there is also, next to an ammo power-up, a doorway over here which gives us some fire mace ammo, and also a couple of rockets that gives us a map scroll. And it more or less puts us back at the start of this place where we need to be anyway, because a secret area opened the moment we picked up this hell staff, which is this place. And we are just going to be killing everyone in here, grabbing a 200 armor power-up, and walking to a slightly lit-up wall that you might barely be able to see, but it is. And if we touch that wall, it opens up our way back to the start of the level, increases the size of the house that we originally started in, and have finished our renovation by grabbing the Phoenix Rod that is hiding within. With our newfangled Phoenix Rod and blue key in hand, we can move on to the last part of this level, which is over here. Opening the door, killing some golems with our Phoenix Rod, because we might as well. There is a Ring of Invulnerability in here, and I will use it, and I will use this Tome of Power. I'm gonna grab my crossbow, and I'm just gonna start wailing, because this place is horrendous. I don't like it very much, and this is a very convenient way of just running through here, killing everything that moves. And really the main thing that makes me want to use it is this Iron Lich, who always shoots with his wonderful tornado attacks and just flings me all over the place, and it makes it kind of a tedious ordeal, especially when everything else is still alive, I suppose, and really that's on me because I can't quite easily just destroy all the other enemies first and then open the door, but when you have invincibility, you might as well use it to its maximum capacity. And with that, we find another Phoenix Rod. I do believe the Fire Mace can also spawn over here somewhere, so that's fun. And with that, we have gotten all kills and secrets, so we are ready to move on out of the Labyrinth. It's a bit of a mess of a level, but not impossible. But with that, we are going to Mission 7, the Great Hall. Starting off this level, the moment we walk forward, we can see the crossbow, and that's a nice change of pace from the world of Heretic, which usually makes us look around a little bit, hiding it in caves and such. The moment we start shooting, we wake up various gargoyles. There's a couple of were-dragons below us, which seem to take damage from the little lava geysers that are going on over there, so that's lovely. It means we don't have to shoot them as much. I don't know if that's actually accurate. I don't know if they are taking damage from this, but they do seem to die considerably quicker once they have been near the lava. And they don't actually seem to be taking damage from the floor itself, so something's damaging them, and I don't think they're infighting with anything down there, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna shoot a couple bolts down there, hope to destroy as many of them as possible, but if they are standing over there, we can just go down here without any real danger. Grab a 100 armor power up, and after killing that last were-dragon, push a button. It raises a small bridge over there, which we can use in a little bit. We can also go there now, but I'd like to go around here to go up this elevator instead after grabbing this crossbow bolt ammo power up. It is just nice to get as much as possible. There was a shadow sphere over there. It is not a secret area. I'm not going to grab it. There is no reason to use a shadow sphere in this level, and therefore I'd rather just not and move on. So this is what we raised earlier, this little platform containing the Tome of Power. You can also grab the Tome of Power and then just walk all the way around, and then you don't really need it, but you know, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to use it here immediately because it's just nice to deal with a whole bunch of these enemies here without too much trouble. Occasionally these enemies are hiding behind the window here, and then you can do some pretty good damage against those as well, so we don't have to deal with them later. And with that damage done, I'm just going to destroy some more stuff, grab a backpack, grab 13 more crossbow bolts and a bunch of rockets and other such things, and move onwards towards a door that requires a yellow key, but also has a lot of golems around it and are quite weak against powered up crossbow bolts. That's just a nice thing to have, really, for this place. Obviously you don't really need the Tome of Power for this place, but there's not that many great places to use it, so I like to use it there. I mean, there's a couple areas where you could argue, but I'd do what I want. So over here is a yellow key. You can climb the boxes without pressing the button that lowers the key, but it's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to try it at least once just to see what happens, but ordinarily you can just get on top of there, grab the yellow key, and move on with your life. But if you're struggling just a little bit with stuff like that, you can also press this button, and it lowers the platform with the key on it, making life a little bit easier. But I need no such easy lives. I will go in here instead, after we have grabbed the yellow key. Try not to get destroyed by the undead warrior, whose name I remember, and press the button over here to open this wall, which is now actually a door. And the moment we go all the way downstairs here, we're gonna open up a secret area that is also in this room, but I'll be grabbing that later. So if suddenly you look at this room and you see, oh, this wall seems to have opened up, that's unusual. When did that happen? It's when we go down the stairs here. But we'll do that when we do that. For now, I'm trying to get myself a green key. And the green key is waiting for us behind one of those two doors. Unfortunately, it is quite heavily guarded by various were-dragons, saber claws and such. But going inside, we find out that we can't actually grab the green key just yet because we need to press a button first. But we do cause some infighting between the saber claw and some other enemies just by being on that side of the area, so that is lovely. The saber claw appears to have lost, as is the deal with every saber claw were-dragon fight, but you know, it is nice to get one more enemy out of the way for free that way. But pressing the button that we can see over there will lower the green key, allowing us to grab it. We just need to get close, press the button. Also, there's a dragon claw on that little platform over there. And having grabbed all of this, we can now get the green key. And we could go to the green door if we so desire, but I'm actually going to continue onwards, traveling downwards. Once again, opening a secret door behind us, which I will return to one day. At some point we picked up an egg. I don't fully remember where, but I mean, it was probably a very memorable moment. But using it in this particular hallway is a great way of dealing with numerous of the were-dragons that are guarding this area towards the blue key door. Moving backwards here a little bit, we can see some elevators lower excessively slowly, and that's just a lot of fun because you just know that the moment we want to ride these elevators, they're going to be equally slow going up. And we are going to be enjoying this whole ride because genuinely, this is great. This is what life's all about. Going down here, there is a hill staff, which is lovely. Just gonna climb down here, grab this flight power up, go back up again, because first of all, I'd like to go over here, because if you go up the other elevator, you actually open up a little doorway there, but I'd like to just have this place opened up. Secondly, there's a door over here containing a tome of power. Thirdly, there's a gargoyle over there. A couple of them actually. And fourthly, yeah, we're going with all the numbers. We need to actually kind of hurry up a little bit to go to this place, because this place is filled to the brim with one secret area and various enemies waiting for us, and it's just a little bit more convenient to fight them right now. There's a cool staircase, the lava going up to a wall over there. We can't quite open it yet. There's also a blue key over there, which we'll be grabbing in just a second. Could have grabbed the shadow sphere, elected not to because I just genuinely don't want to grab it. And we are going into this room, which is now open. As I said before, when I went down the staircase, I feel like it's very important to emphasize that, because it seems like such a strange place to open up this particular door to me, but maybe that's just me. I'm not the person who's making these decisions. There's a whole bunch of fire mace ammo in this area. We do not actually have that, so, you know, it is what it is. We're just going to move on, knowing that we'll never truly accomplish what we're setting out here, which is using the fire mace. But, you know, I used it a couple times in this particular episode, so I'm not too bothered. And we're back at the green key area, where there were a lot of enemies standing surprisingly close to a blue key, which we saw previously. And occasionally you can get these guys to infight a lot with each other and just destroy one another, but this time around, I don't know, pretty tanky this time. Fair enough. We're just gonna go through the door, grab the blue key. This is where we just picked up the secret area with the phoenix rod and such. And going back, you could kinda hear a door open or close or whatever. We can press this button to see the other side of the lava staircase. That's fun. So if you haven't picked up that secret yet, you can also take the lava downstairs, but it's not ideal due to all the flames, so I'd rather not recommend it. But with this blue key in hand, we still have one more thing to do, which is touching this particular door that we opened previously by going to the top of the elevator, which opens up this secret area on the other side of the room. And we're just going to use our hill staff here because they cannot actually climb this small ledge. And that is wonderful. There is an Inferno Orb waiting for us over there, which is good because we're going to be using a lot of Inferno Orb ammo in just a moment. The moment I press the button for Phoenix Rod, there we go, because there is another tornado friend ruining our day with its wonderful tornado attacks. Eventually their name is just going to change to Tornado Friend, because that's really the only noteworthy attack that they have in this game, and it's unfortunate for them, but that's life. I'm going to use this remaining Tome of Power that I apparently still have to just kill these last remaining enemies. There's only a couple gargoyles here, but I kind of forgot about the Tome of Power if I'm being perfectly honest. And with all that done, press the button, go through the door, look at the vase that's over there, touch it just for fun, and kill the remaining disciple, which I believe is all kills and secrets. And that ends the Great Hall. I guess maybe the Great Hall alludes to the fact that you have to go down a staircase and open up your wildest dreams, but I honestly cannot tell. With that, we are going to episode 8, the last level of this episode, mission 8. We're going to mission 8, the Portals of Chaos. Now in this final mission of the episode, we start off in a small box. Pressing the button lowers the box entirely and makes a whole bunch of gargoyles mad at us, so we will just quietly leave this place and not fire a single shot for a minute because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a couple of were-dragons here all pretty mad at us, there's more gargoyles. But most important of all, in this area, there are 3 Molotovs, which are an interesting enemy. They're quite large. They have various attacks, as you can see. That flame that hit the floor just now, pretty much an insta-kill, so don't get hit by that. Their 5 projectiles deal reasonable damage. I'm mostly just sitting here to get an Iron Lich to get out of his cage, and also to cause some infighting here. They also have a melee attack. They have a charge attack, which supposedly they're immune to other damage while they're charging, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. They're immune to splash damage from the Phoenix Rods, so the regular rockets don't deal that much damage to them, like compared to other enemy types. And also, they have a 50% resistance to the rain of the powered up Hellstaff, so all in all, pretty strong. Supposedly, you can lure them towards these crushers and crush them that way, and maybe use the chaos device that we just picked up to leave the area, but it sounds like an incredibly tedious strategy, and they have 3,000 health, so it sounds like it would take a while. I'm just gonna let them fight there for a while, ignoring pretty much everything here because I want there to be as much infighting as possible and I don't want stuff to bother me. Really, I just want as many people as possible to be dealing damage to the Molotovs, but I'll take what I can get for the most part. Picking up the crossbow opens up this little doorway, which has an armor power-up and also an urn and some flight, so that can be useful from time to time. Definitely makes you a lot more resistance to the flame on the floor attack, so that is lovely. I will be picking up the Phoenix Rod here because the flamethrower is quite powerful against the Molotovs, provided that you actually do have a Ring of Invincibility active. But fortunately, there is just such a ring in the middle of this arena, so we're just going to be grabbing that. And in a second, we're just going to start shooting, I think. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and after I grab this Tome of Power and teleport to the place where we were previously, I'm just, gonna start blasting. The moment that you actually enter this arena, the walls lower, so you can actually just run around this place for a while and grab as much stuff as you want, which is nice. I do believe there is actually a Hell Staff, which I haven't picked up yet, which is right there. Gonna be grabbing that real quick. And yeah, 400 bolts from this thing deals a pretty decent amount of damage, so we're just gonna be shooting towards the Molotovs. Now, an important thing to note is, once again, they are immune during their charge attacks. Supposedly, I only read about it. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds pretty real. It's a weird thing to lie about in any case. And they can stun by some of your attacks, especially when you look up by accident. I do like that I bound that key to mouse buttons that I can easily press by accident. But yeah, the stun is pretty important. It's really the main reason why the flamethrower works against them at all, because you can just stand next to them and fire, but with the Ring of Invincibility it does make it a little bit easier, as their melee attacks have a tendency to knock you around, and with 2 other Molotovs just hanging out in this place, it can be quite easy to just get knocked around instead of actually dealing damage to them, so you gotta be at least a little bit careful of that. Try to focus down one at a time, because otherwise you're just going to be using a lot of ammo and not actually kill any one of them. And that's a little bit inconvenient, I say, as I travel between various ones and not actually try to focus on them. There we go. So having one dead is actually quite nice. There has been a lot of infighting going on because there don't seem to be many enemies remaining, so that is lovely. I don't think I've really been focusing on the enemies around this place, so far I'd say this is going pretty well. Still gotta watch out for those flames on the floor attacks though, because it is very easy to accidentally just walk into one of those, especially when you're walking back and forth. That's just a very easy trap because the flame does stay a while. That gets you killed. But in a second, hopefully this one's gonna die and we can just use a Ring of Invincibility combined with the flamethrower to kill the last remaining one. And once all the Molotars are dead, the remaining enemies will all die, so we don't need to worry about the rest of this level. But for the most part, things are going pretty okay. I think I might just switch to the old invincibility with flame strategy here. This is not a Phoenix Rod, this is a Phoenix Rod. And that one's dead already, and the other one is hiding. That's very inconvenient. There we go. I don't know how he got there, but fair enough. Did a good job hiding from me. And from the most part, like, I would say that the stun works pretty well, but at the same time, he's clearly hitting me repeatedly. He just knocked me into a teleporter, which is obviously not ideal either. But let's see if we can get a little bit more work done with this thing. Might be worthwhile to actually just switch to this thing for a little bit longer, because we have been shooting him with the flamethrower for quite a while. But he does really want me dead. He's using his strong attacks repeatedly, and I do not appreciate that very much at all. But there we go. Killing that one opens up various portals to the end of this episode. If we press tab, all the enemies are dead, all secrets have been found, and we can end this episode pleased. Going through this portal shows this wonderful lava-colored splash screens with the text that reads as follows. The mighty Molotars have proved to be no match for you, and as their steaming corpses slide to the ground, you feel a sense of grim satisfaction that they have been destroyed. The gateways which they guarded have opened, revealing what you hope is the way home. But as you step through, mocking laughter rings in your ears. Was some other force controlling the Molotars? Could there be even more horrific beings through this gate? The sweep of a crystal dome overhead where the sky should be is certainly not a good sign. And you can click onwards to show off the dome there where the sky should be. Looks quite interesting, and I'm quite looking forward to playing episode 3 at some point. But that's episode 2. Hope you all enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty good episode. I don't particularly care for the fire mace mechanics because it means I have to put in a lot more work to make a video. But, you know, what are you gonna do? All in all, I think it's pretty great, and I look forward to playing episode 3 sometime. And I hope to see y'all there. Bye bye.